Hello and welcome to the Daily Roto Premium NBA program. This is the Friday, May 14th edition. Andrew Barron here, Christopher Pacheco here. It's the last one. It's the last one of the season. Pacheco, you look nice. What's going on, man?
I look nice. Dude. Oh my God. I can't believe you're doing this. I cannot believe you're doing this. Here's the thing. Like, I know it was your idea. Obviously, the dressing up part, but like, I'm not laughing because you look weird or funny looking. You look amazing. It's just like after doing this in pajamas for us
Right.
like the entire year, this looks a little bit different.
Yeah, man. No, I'm not gonna lie. It feels kind of good to wear a suit. I have not done this in 14, 15 months. So,
Wow.
Figure we'd try it out. We got to look good. It's a special occasion. Might as well dress up for it. So.
Wait, I have questions. I have so many questions. I have so many questions. So the suit, I don't have any. I told you this. I don't have any.
Right.
What occasion do you wear suits for? Am I missing out or something? Like, why do you have a suit? Why does it look so good? I need explanations.
Well, listen, Pacheco, a man's got to have a suit or a couple.
Fair.
Listen,
fair,
your problem. The more assiduous watchers of the show program will notice that your profile photo on site, you are wearing a shirt and tie. It's from when you were 21 years old, and you have just gained 40 pounds of muscle since then. So that stuff doesn't fit you anymore. You gotta still have some. I did that catering company that I worked for that I, every once in a while still do I haven't in 15 months, but literally the last time I wore the suit was when they flew me to Miami. It's like this super fancy thing. So we do all kinds of, everyone wears suits. They charge a lot of money for us. So there's that, like going to friends' weddings. I got married once. Didn't stick, but I had one for that. So I've got a couple suits. I like to keep tailored. I'm excited to have people go out back in the world again. So there are occasions to wear things other than like American Apparel tees and Adidas Tiro pants, which is what I wear 6.5 days a week these days.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Like, the last time I wore a suit, the last few times that I have worn a suit were weddings. Right. I definitely want one. It's not for a lack of not wanting one. It's just like, where the hell am I going to wear this? Outside of a wedding. That's awesome though. The fact that you're working for that catering company and stuff, and like you could rock that. Like, that's pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
It's fun. And just wear it on a DFS show, man. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel official.
Wow.
Not to give free pub, but like suitsupply.com is like that. That's where I got a couple. They're like pretty nice, like intros. They're like $500 suits. They're not going to cost you $2,000, but they look really nice. And it's not some stuff off the rack at Macy's, which you're going to spend as much on tailoring as you spent on the suit itself. So I don't know, Suit Supply, pretty good if you feel like going for it. Welcome in, everyone. What's up, Chris? Last pod of the season. It is. Thank you. We are absolutely dedicated to the mess, and oh boy, do we have a mess tonight. This is just bonk. Like the peons, I don't even know. Like, they're okay on DraftKings, I feel like. Although Russell Westbrook was actually projecting over 100%, which there's like 11 safeguards to not let people do that. Fix that. So Russ is, going to be 80 something, but FanDuel is just like, doesn't even work. Like, and then the Sims, they're basically a combination. The calculation is like a combination of like the overall probability that these guys like are the top score, and then like that they're the best sort of value per dollar. And typically it's like 10% top overall and like 90% their value on DraftKings, and like 15 or 20 on FanDuel. Literally FanDuel is 90%. Like what their overall score. So it's a FanDuel is essentially a pick 'em. Yeah. And then DraftKings is not far off. There's a couple, there's a couple expensive guys, so you can't just play them all, but you can come pretty close. There's a lot of value tonight. There's a couple of studs. Would you like to give a sort of opening overture about how you think this slate works, or any broad strokes you'd like to paint upon the canvas of this slate before we dive into the games, because it's almost useless.
Yeah, should we just let's just leave the celebration, I guess, and the good times for last, and let's just get this over with, I guess.
Yeah, we're back to work, buddy. People wear suits to work.
Yeah, we might as well just literally get this done with, and then actually chill. So obviously, there's 2 days left of the season. Well, I guess tonight, you could count tonight, so there would be today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Games with meaning are gonna just disappear, right? That's essentially why you're having these disasters at this point. Plus, teams are just ridiculously banged up. So on a night where they can use, a night off, they will. And I think that's what you're seeing with Golden State. Memphis, obviously, who have a monster game on Sunday that determines who gets the 8th seed, I believe, in the Western Conference, and the other one falls to 9. So that will come down on Sunday. Tonight has no meaning whatsoever for these teams, so they're going to be resting.
Well, unless one of them loses. Although, no, even then, right? Yeah. Right.
No, yeah, it just won't matter. So that's where you're seeing the rest on those guys. Denver, they're in this. Let me just pull this up. I had it, and
They've got at Detroit and at Portland left.
Yes, but Denver essentially is locked into 3-4. They don't have any. There's no way they can drop or move up outside of 3. And frankly, it probably benefits them to stay at 4 because they're going to get Dallas or Portland. They want that. Right. They don't.
There's
want
a chance
all of a
that the 3-6 is the Lakers are the 6, and you don't want that.
No. So Denver essentially, I mean, they rested Gordon, Millsap. Some of these dudes are out tonight. I think Michael Porter comes back into the fold, but them playing regular minutes and stuff like that, take it out of the equation. That's essentially what I was saying with Jokic yesterday as well. 35, 36 minutes is not happening. We might not even see Jokic on Sunday or on Sunday. We might not see him. He might just want to keep playing these games because he wants to play the whole season. But if we see him, it won't be for long. Tonight is one of those situations. It's a second out of a back-to-back. I mean, just add up the pieces here. Not going to want to push him too hard. Imagine him getting hurt right before the playoffs. They're not going to risk that. Right. So that's Denver. Philadelphia and some of these guys in the East, they're essentially done. The only team really in the East that we have to worry about for tonight's purposes that we know is really big is Washington. Andrew, they haven't clinched 10 yet. Right. Chicago still has an out if Washington, I believe, loses out and Chicago wins out. That scenario is still in play. So Washington gets a super kick matchup against Cleveland tonight. They should win that, and then it's over, right? But they got to do this. they got to do this. So Washington is the one team on the slate that I can confidently say has a lot to play for. They want to wrap this thing up. You don't want this going into, Saturday, Sunday. They don't want this. So they're going to want to wrap things up tonight. You feel really good about Washington's situation. Really, outside of that, it's a full toss-up. It's a complete full toss-up. On a lot of these situations, you're going to get mass rest. We're already seeing it for a lot of these teams. I'm frankly surprised Philadelphia hasn't pulled it out yet. They listed Embiid as probable. Have no idea why any of them would play against Orlando tonight. You still could see that. The best stud on the slate is Russell Westbrook, and frankly, it's just not close because he has something to play for. The rest do not. I know that his price tag is at a different level, but he's going to be at a different level fantasy-wise, given all the things that they have to play for, and the rest don't. I guess Dallas, technically you could put Dallas in that equation as well, in terms of teams that don't want to lose or don't care about it, but they play Toronto, who's playing you and I out there. Indeed. So they should be wrapping that one up. So, to summarize, there's barely any teams now that have anything to play for at this point. The guys that are having to play for stuff are going to get massively owned. And honestly, I in other instances would be all about game theory. And this spot, it doesn't make sense for you to do that, So
yeah, you got to do some real twisted shit tonight. Like this is a slate for sickos. Russell Westbrook, I just ran another sim. He is, I believe, if this is correct, which it should be, 72% to be optimal on FanDuel. 72%. I've never seen that. Like on an 8-gamer slate. Yeah, this is an 8-gamer.
Sure.
And that's because it is almost literally a pick 'em on FanDuel, and it's just like that's basically since it's 90% top overall, it's basically just what is the probability that Russell Westbrook is one of the top 9 scorers tonight, or one of the top 2 point guards, and it's like 70% sounds about right. Like that's just bonkers.
I really do think like when it's all said and done, when the situations the next few days. When you're gonna look back at it, it's not did I play Russell Westbrook not and did I profit? Like take that out of your head. You're playing him. No. This is gonna come down to
he's not even paying your rake.
He's not doing anything. Not doing anything for you. So forget about him. The slate is gonna be won and lost with how you deal with all of these mass rest situations. And I can tell you from the get-go, some of these we haven't seen at all this season. Projections struggle in these situations because, especially on things that we haven't seen, there's guys in here that their rates are probably just wrong. I don't know who, but I can guarantee you that someone or somebody's are going to be projecting just like super off. And it's not just going to be on us. It's just going to be on every site. Right. So how you handle those situations is going to win you or lose you the slate, in my opinion.
No argument there. I think that is absolutely the case. It's just, I mean, is this one? I still don't think you can do it on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, is this one where you'd be comfortable just being like, just play the projections, but lock me at, cap my salary at 48.9.
Sure.
49.1. Because I don't even think making a lineup at 49.5 is, or whatever, FanDuel. So 59.5. I don't even think that's going to be all that unique. It's almost like certain showdowns in NFL when there's just like too many, where there's like 3 $200 wide receivers that are all of a sudden starting, and it's like it doesn't make you unique to leave $1,000 on the table. I don't know if we're quite at that, but it's like it's the closest we've ever seen this season for NBA, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, don't be afraid to leave. Maximizing the salary on the slate feels quite dumb. I mean, you're going to see some really, really dumb stuff. Like, I don't know, say Embiid plays and Luka plays and guys like that. Like, there's a chance some of these like scrubs, they just beat them outright in fantasy scoring. I know it sounds really weird, but that's the type of stuff you have to be prepared for. Someone like DeLon Wright or something, like they could be live to outscore some of these other studs, because it's not that the studs aren't amazing. It's just that their minutes might get completely cut underneath them, right? And that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Even non-studly expensive people. So what springs to mind for me, I did Houston this morning. We had to split it up because this was so bonkers. Kellyo and Jason Tate are the clear rates leaders, the clear best dudes on the Rockets. They're the ones that should be carrying the workload. Here's the thing. They played a competitive game against the Lakers the other night, and those dudes were like 7th and 8th on the team in minutes. Like, they just did not want to play them because they did not want to win. So, like, Kellyo has amazing rates. Like, he's projecting it like a 30% usage. He might play 22 minutes. Like, we don't know. So, like, an 8K guy could get outscored by a $3,500 guy on his own team, even if they're both playing.
I couldn't agree more, and that sounds really weird. And that's why we had been cautious with Houston specifically, because we got word that they were trying to manage Kellyo, Jason Tate, DJ Augustine. And then it's not just word. Then you look at the games, and they're actually doing it. So now it's essentially official. And in the slate, right, there were times where even Kellyo at that reduced minutes thing, we were still kind of like, yeah, I still think you might be able to do this. And it pans out because his rates are so awesome. This slate is different, because now I can almost guarantee you a scrub will definitely come out and outscore some of these dudes. So
there's going to be some 40-point performances from multiple 3K guys tonight. And that's not usually how it works. Normally it's like, oh, cool, there's a couple 3K pieces of yard trash I can play and hope to squeeze out 22. Like it's not that tonight. Like there's actual dudes that are, like a number of min-price dudes that are projecting into the 30s.
Yeah, and then you have teams like Toronto. I don't know if you were able to keep up with what they did yesterday, but essentially Boucher and Gary Trent Jr. were
off the bench,
active, right? Came off the bench, but didn't play. And, that's a team that's just trying to outright lose, though, right? Houston, teams that are trying to outright lose, you got to identify, okay, what are like the really good guys? And they're probably just not going to try to play them much, to be very honest with you. And that's why yesterday with Boucher, when I saw him coming off the bench, I just told the people on Slack, don't play it, because of course there's a chance that he could play 30 minutes or he might play 0, and he played 0. You can't take that chance on this slate. You can't take that chance because there's so much cheap value that is going to outscore a lot of these guys. That if they're coming off the bench or something weird happens, don't even go there. It's too much opportunity cost.
Agreed, man. Agreed. Well, speaking of yard trash, Mr. Yard Trash himself asked if I'm getting married today. Married to the game, baby. Married to the game. Married to the grind. Like Jordan Payton.
That one, you're not going to get separated from. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Nice. Nice one. Okay. Let's talk about some games. Should we talk about Houston first? They were just on our minds. We've got Houston and the Clippers. Both of these teams are absolutely gutted. The Clippers are not going to be playing Kawhi, Paul George, Reggie Jackson, Pat Beverly. But this is one of those, like, I don't think it's like they're going to play Rondo 38 minutes because of this. You know what I mean? Like,
nope.
It's Luke Kennard. It's Ivica Zubac. Those are the only guys I'm really confident play, like, well into the 30s. Like all the rest of these guys, these vets, it's like they might stretch them out, but they might just play them 22 minutes. Like we don't really know. Talk to me about the Clips.
Yeah, absolutely. Even I think the Zubac's projection, I'll take down some on the minutes, just because we're pretty darn certain he's going to be a part of their playoff rotation, right? Rondo, how is he not part of their playoff rotation? Like he will have a role for sure. Marcus Morris, absolutely. DeMarcus Cousins, certainly iffier. Batum will. Serge Ibaka will. They're going to try to give him some minutes in these last couple of games, but it's not going to be like earth-shattering minutes. Like I'm not expecting a lot of minutes there, but they're going to try to give him some run. Pat, probably not. That's a dude that could play like 28 tonight, 30 or whatever, pretty easily. You got to feel pretty confident about Kennard, and Terrence Mann is also ruled out, right, from this rotation. Yeah.
Right, he would have been the other obvious, like, okay, they'll play him a ton, but I don't think they're playing Marcus Morris 33 minutes. Like, I don't think they're going to play Nick Batum 33 minutes. I think they're going to keep the clamps on these dudes, and it's Kennard and Zubac just because he's young, and I don't know, Yogi Ferrell is going to get some run. Like Tupac, you're right. Tupac could go forever. I think Cousins actually, I don't know. I don't think he gets more than 25 minutes, but like we know what DeMarcus Cousins can do in 20 minutes. He might have a 30+% usage tonight. Like he could score 40 in 20 minutes. Like I don't think that's crazy.
I couldn't agree so much with that. Like here's the thing: presumably if Zubac is playing, he's going to start, right? So then Ibaka's around too. There's enough where it's like, man, is Cousins even gonna play much? That is honestly a really good opportunity to buy on the guy. Okay, he might play 14 minutes and screw you. Great.
That was true when he was 60% owned early in the season.
Yeah,
and all the fishies went after him. Yeah.
Dude, he might play 25. I mean, Zubac might get like he might get like one half rotation, and then the rest is Cousins. Like. So I think that's really interesting because I don't think he's going to start. That's the type of weird stuff, Andrew, that I'm talking about on this slate that you can do, and the rest of the field probably won't be on it because he's not starting.
Right.
That already separates you.
Yeah, and like James's question here, I think this is how most people are thinking, and I've seen, because the PO algo has a lot to do with what other sites are projecting. Other sites are putting a pretty decent projection on Marcus Morris. I don't think it's warranted. Like they said they wanted to get Zubac rest, that's and they couldn't find the right time. That's great info. I had not heard that, so I'm with you, and I think we should pull down Zubac's projection a little bit. But I don't think it's just like they're going to throw in Marcus Morris for extended run. Like they'll probably just let Cousins do whatever he can do, and I don't really know who else, but it's not necessarily like they could just not play a center at all. Like, I mean, Morris isn't really a center either, but
sure.
I mean, they just might run some stupid lineups out there because they don't care about this game.
No,
Houston wants to lose it anyway. So like,
and on the other side of that, you have Houston. Yeah. So the thing, I understand the Morris thing 100%, but Zubac is also part of the rotation. I'm trying to give you guys the information on who's going to be a part of the playoff rotation potentially and who just isn't. And Cousins just might not be. So this is going to be the time to give him minutes before the season ends, and he might just not play a whole lot in the postseason or at all. So in that situation, I certainly think he becomes quite interesting for our purposes.
I think that is correct. Okay, on the Houston side of the ball, I mentioned earlier that Kelly and Jayshawn Tate, who are the rates leaders for sure and probably the best projections, they're not playing many minutes. I slapped like 27.5 on them because I think there's downside of 22. And the guys that played a ton of minutes last game are just a bunch of weirdos like Armani Brooks, Kyrie Thomas, Kenny Martin Jr., who's been around, he's been doing it, and Anthony Lamb. Those are the four guys that played 34-plus minutes in the last game. And they just cut the wheels out from under. We'll go with that. I like that. Cut the wheels out from under Kelly and Tate. They played like 25 minutes each, 22 minutes each. It's ugly. Same with Augustine. It's really tough to trust. But which guys, if any, are you interested in playing for Houston tonight?
I think that Kyrie. Look at what they've been doing, right? So Jayshawn Tate, they're trying to protect Kelly, or they're trying to protect DJ Augustine. Like, there's no shot that he plays extended minutes. Get it out of your head; it's not happening. There's this other fella that they signed. That we mentioned him, Cam Reynolds.
Yeah, I think he's a running back that got cut for Dallas or something years ago. I'm just kidding. But doesn't that sound like a third string? Doesn't that sound like a third string running back? It very much so to me.
Sure. So we'll go with that. So a former Cowboy. He is probably going to play in this one. We don't have him. No one has him. So this isn't just us. Like, this dude doesn't exist anywhere as of right now. But he will probably get some minutes. Dudes that you have to feel really confident for minutes on Houston as of today are Kenyon Martin Jr. for sure, Kyrie Thomas, Armani Brooks, and Anthony Lamb.
Yep.
Those are the guys that are going to play 30-plus. You feel good about their minutes. Kyrie Thomas got a contract from Houston, I believe. I read not too long ago. It looks like he could shoot. He might be a little bit of a shooter, so they might have found something there. But like, I'm interested. I would be interested in that. Now, probably not Kelly O.
That makes sense. When you talked about Cam Reynolds like not existing, like Pacheco isn't lying. Like, we can't send him to site, not because we don't have a baseline for him. Like, we can create stuff for that. We can't send him to site because the sites, DraftKings and FanDuel, it's not that they don't have him available to play tonight. It's that they don't have an ID on him in the database in the player feed. Like, we get a feed that's like tens of thousands of names many days. Yeah. And he is not one of them.
He doesn't have a player ID. He doesn't have anything. We can't identify.
And they'll have one for him tomorrow, but like we literally can't push him to site because he doesn't exist in anybody's databases. So he's a real nobody. So you can't play him, but he might play a little bit tonight.
Probably, as I said, not the slate for Kelly O. Unfortunate, but this is probably the one where you're like, okay, this is where I draw the line. Kenyon Martin Jr., the thing with him is expensive, right? He's still quite pricey. So that one probably falls off, but still has like 50. I mean, in this situation, he probably still has like upside. It's just like there's probably going to be some cheapos that beat him, just fair and square. So.
No, I think that is correct. Okay, let's move on to Cleveland and Washington, which we can bang out quick because it's like, go ahead and lock Russ if you want. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, there is huge payoff if he just stinks or fouls out, scores 30 points, gets, pulls a hammy. But it doesn't do anything for you if you play him. Like, you have not gained any ground on the field if you play Russell Westbrook. So it's like you can play a shorter lineup with him. You can, if you want, you can. He's more like 50% to work on DraftKings and 70% to work on FanDuel. It feels like it's 100, I know, but it's not. We can play him, and then they're up against Cleveland, who have Garland is questionable, so he may come back tonight. And if he does, I'm kind of off of pretty much everyone, I think. I don't know. What do you got on this game?
Well, first thing is first. They did also rule out Kevin Love. I just pushed this onto site because we still had Kevin Love on our stuff from earlier. So I'm gonna go. I literally just fixed this while you were talking. So you guys can go ahead and refresh in like 30 seconds. Or something like that, because that will be fixed. But anyway, it's going to be like Dean Wade and stuff that probably starts there, plays 30 plus minutes. We saw this recently. Dean Wade did go bananas in that game, but he typically doesn't do that. But he will probably start for Kevin Love. So be aware of that. Garland, we don't know about. He's Q. The other thing is Sexton. He played only 32-ish or something the other night in a competitive game. Remember, Cleveland's trying to lose now. They are trying to maximize their odds of getting a nice little pick here. So I can't recommend Sexton anymore. With that said, I wanted to, but I can't do it anymore because now I see what they're trying to do. Man, Washington side, I hear you on the Russ thing that he's more like 50-ish% on DraftKings. It's just I don't know how you avoid this. I'm so
right. Lock him if you want. Go for it.
Just know what you're up against. It's not going to help you. Not going to help you. It's just a matter of what you do with the rest of the slate, especially the mass resting situations that we were talking about earlier. So just keep that in mind. They're going to start Neto. They're going to start Hachimura. They're pretty much going to go with what they've been doing here of late. They have to win. They got to win this one. Let's just win this one and clinch. So that's what's on their minds right now.
Cleveland is in a bit of a race, actually. Them and Orlando are flip-flopping.
Yes.
And them, Orlando, Minnesota, and OKC are all within a game of each other. So it's pretty close there. Houston, by the way, has it locked up by a million.
By a million. Yeah. Yep. But Cleveland won that dumb game the other night against Boston that they should have lost. And I really do think they tried. It's just that Boston is
sucks.
Trying to win and they're horrible at it. So there's that.
Poor Tatum. Did you see here? He was on Woj, on the Woj pod and was just talking about how he just feels like he doesn't breathe the same.
That's so sad.
That sucks, man. Yeah,
that's just sad. Let's just skip the Celtics season. But two of those guys had it, Fournier and Tatum, and let's just skip it. I'm okay with it, man. It is what it is. The other thing I would say on Washington is their cheap guys are a hard ignore for me on the slate. Hard ignore.
Yeah,
very hard because they're not going to compete with some of the other amazing values on this one. Easy. X's on the Washington side for me, frankly, 100%. outside of Westbrook, obviously.
Yep, I'm with you there. Okay, Denver and Detroit. We were just talking about the race to the bottom. Detroit actually is holding serve with the number 2 worst record. No one can catch Houston, but Detroit's a game ahead of the other 4 teams that we mentioned that are all within a game of each other, or a game behind rather. They play against Denver tonight. Neither team really cares about this game. Actually, that's not true. Detroit does care about this game. They want to lose it. I don't think Denver really cares about this game. So we shall see what happens. To that end, Detroit is doing their thing where they will not have Dennis Smith Jr., Mason Plumlee, Rodney Magruder, Corey Joseph, Frank Jackson, Wayne Ellington, Jeremy Grant, or Isaiah Stewart has been added to the list. He's out for personal reasons. I mean, Josh Jackson, what a tank commander. That's absolutely a guy you want in a game that you need to lose, because he'll put up a 30% usage and he'll break a ton of shots, and you'll probably lose the game. So good for you guys. We've also got Diallo questionable, but seems like Diallo and Josh Jackson would be the fellas leading the charge as far as usage goes, should they both play. What do you got? What do you got here?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm going to be honest. I don't think these guys can compete with what's out there. I don't think so. Josh Jackson certainly can, because he's 4,400 on FanDuel. Certainly can. But Killian Hayes, too expensive. Diallo, just priced out. 6,600 on FanDuel. You're kidding me. Saban Lee 4,100 is a little bit more interesting, because he has been playing more with two-guard lineups with Killian Hayes playing the two. I think that one might be a little bit interesting. Ja Okafor is really cheap. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't know how he can compete with some of these other cheap centers on the slate. Like, he's okay. Might just beat our minutes and maybe our rates, and that way he could get there. But
gonna have some real foul trouble too if he's up against Jokic here.
Oh my God, that is horrible. Yeah, that's just horrible. He's gonna have to do Jokic tonight. Like, that's horrible. Yeah. That doesn't feel great. Yeah, don't feel great.
Yeah. Speaking of Jokic, FanDuel POs are completely broken. There is the component basically that calculates this stuff is based on value, not so much overall projection. And there's just so much value that, like, my PON cap is ending up at like $52,000. I can probably figure out a fix, but that's why Ross, Luka, Jokic, MPJ, they're all kind of capping out at this 23, 25% range. It's because there's cheap guys that have the same sort of value rating as them, even though not the same overall. And when I have methods to stretch that and make it so the higher value, and generally that balloons up to the more expensive guys, that's just not happening tonight. There's just the cheaper guys are better values even than these crazy expensive dudes with an unlimited cap. So Russ, Luka, Jokic, they're all going to be, 40, 50% owned. Russ will be the obvious one that'll get to 70 probably, but I'll probably have a chance to figure out something after the show, but just don't trust FanDuel POs today would be my advice to you. Or just understand that the expensive guys will be much more owned than they look like. Jokic gets to play Detroit again. He's going to be very popular, 35% optimal percentage. Like, he's the number one center on the slate. How great do you feel about him? Is he how much of a lock is he to you?
Well, from what I've seen, he's still playing like 30 plus minutes. The scenario that he gets totally screwed in terms of like 25 or something is a blowout, which still possible because this Detroit team is trying so hard to do that thing. But like, here's the thing. Wouldn't a 40-something burger from Jokic still kind of just win center tonight?
Right. That's what we're talking about here is like, okay, yeah, can Cousins score 40? Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And like, oh, wow, yeah, Cousins is $7,000 less than Jokic. But like, if Jokic just scores 48 and Cousins scores 41, like, that $7,000 might not matter.
It might just not matter. Like, we're talking raw points. Let's just focus on the raw points. Like, I mean, I'm toggling that. You can toggle down Jokic to like 28 minutes, and he's still just below Embiid. But I feel worse about Embiid than I do Jokic. Like, just straight up.
Yeah,
I still think Jokic holds. He's just gonna hold this lead at center unless there's a big surprise somewhere. My question to you is, where is that coming from? Where could that surprise come from? Because I don't think it's going to be Zubats. I'm telling you that right now. I don't think it's Zubats. I don't think Zubats can do that. I think Boucher can, but I don't have any confidence that he'll get playing time.
Right.
I don't think Metu can. I think Metu can get to the 34, 35 minutes, but it's Metu. Like, if he gets to 40, And that, right, we're back to the Cousins conversation. It might just not matter. So what I'm asking is, raw points in the high 40s. Who can do it at center? Who do you have?
Boucher, maybe. Gobert if that stays close. Gobert's a good one, actually, if that stays close. And they really need to win. They need to win that game.
No, they don't, right?
Oh, they don't? Did they wrap it up?
Dude, I think they wrapped it up. I think they essentially wrapped it up, no?
I don't believe so. They've got one game on Phoenix. Both have 2 games left.
So if they lose on tomorrow or Sunday, whenever they play again, are they going to be the number 2 seed if Phoenix wins?
Well, they both got 2 games left, and there's a game separating them. So at the very least, if Utah goes 0-2 and Phoenix goes 2-0,
they're in.
Phoenix would be number 1. But and I don't know who's got the tiebreaker there. I feel like I should know that.
It's Phoenix.
Oh no, it's here. It's Phoenix. Yeah. No, so Utah absolutely has to win this game.
Okay. So then, my bad. Obviously, I stand corrected. No, here's the funny part. That Portland game yesterday, they had that in the bag, and Phoenix ended up pulling it out somehow, and that could be massive because of what we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. That could be massive because Phoenix still has an out to be the number 1 seed after that.
Right. It looked like Utah had it wrapped up, and then Utah lost to Portland. Phoenix beat Portland. Yeah, exactly.
Dude, it's nutty. It's nutty. But on Utah, I think Conley might be back on that one. Super limited, gonna have super restrictions. And I just don't.
Let's get into it. Go ahead with the Utah report.
I just don't think that those guys play 30 plus. They might just tap out at 30. A lot of these guys. Remember, they're playing OKC. This game might be 75-32 at half.
That's
something. Something super, super nutty. OKC is going all out to lose, and Utah's going to obviously win this one. It's just a matter of how much. I don't feel good about it staying competitive, obviously. So I think that this is just going to be best case scenario 30 minutes for Gobert, Bogdanovic, Ingles. Conley is not going to play 30 minutes. He'll probably play 20 something, low 20s would be my guess. Royce O'Neal in that same deal. That's what kind of scares me a little bit on Rudy, and the fact that his usage is just not comparable to some of the other high-end centers. But it might not matter. It just might not matter in this one.
Right. So, yeah, and we don't like to project blowout. I will say, Utah has pretty reliably blown out shit teams this year, and I don't think that's a mistake. It's the way they play, because they just have that sort of GTO, this is sort of optimized basketball. It's not dissimilar to what the Rockets were able to do, where it's they just threes and layups, they pass it around, spread pick and roll. It's just a very. I was never an amazing poker player, but I played a fair amount. It's Utah is almost if you're at a table full of just fish, and then you just play tight aggressive, right? Just that normal tight aggressive. You don't have to do any real. That's kind of what the Utah system is like. So it will destroy crappy teams in a way that the Clippers will have a chance to lose to these good teams sometimes just because of the way that they come and go. But I think you're right. I think Utah will be able to just handily destroy them. I guess what I'm saying is I'm more confident in Utah blowing out teams than I am about other similarly elite teams against bad teams. What Utah does destroys bad teams in a way that other elite teams don't always.
I'm with you. So I'm with you.
Get ugly.
And they might get Conley back on this one too, so that's going to nerf a lot of the rates that we were seeing on some of these guys. Bogdanovic, as an example, was awesome on the usage rate side. Now I had to bring him back a little bit down to earth because Conley had been taking all of the stuff without Mitchell in there.
Yep, and it potentially hurts Clarkson a little bit too because Joe Ingles will now come off the second unit, and it's not just the Clarkson show. So there's some stuff there. Or wait, will Ingles still start? Sorry, I'm have too many balls in the air at the moment. Will Ingles still start with Conley back because of no Mitchell? It will, right? Unless
they wanted to start Niang or just try to do something else. They could. I mean, they certainly could.
No, thank you. That was what I screwed up with no Mitchell and Conley. It's Ingles. There's two new guys, Ingles and Yang. That's who I've forgotten. Okay. And then on OKC, they will not have Lou Dort this evening. And then obviously SGA and the gang will not be there. But anybody you have interest in on the OKC side of the ball?
I'm looking, but
Poku, baby. Poku, 1% owned, 4K. Like, I mean,
it has to be, but it feels like it has to be him because of the rates upside there and the fact that it just doesn't matter. Like, he'll shoot a bunch of times, even if he misses all of them. The minutes are a little tricky. That's just the only thing, because they're still playing 10 outright. You know what I mean? And they played Charlie Brown Jr. and whoever else. So, like, doesn't feel as great with this team relative to some of the other mass wrestling situations, because they're still going to play at the very least 10. And I believe we're projecting an 11th in Kenridge, who might just not play, and they give that little playing time to someone else. Frankly, I would not do any from OKC. If I was forced to, gun to my head, it would probably be Poku. It would probably be
3,900.
They're just not even trying to play him real minutes. I mean, like, they're just not trying to play the good players minutes, right? Yeah. Like,
it's Poku. His efficiency is terrible, but like every once in a while he'll have a real game. He's an even worse Anthony Edwards, kind of like from a fantasy perspective right now. So at 1% owned, like, I'm down with that. He's had 3 games where he was efficient this year, so like there's an actual like 8% chance of him like crushing. And at 1% owned, why not? He can get into the mix. He's got 40 in his ceiling. So there's we're basically, all you're trying to do here really is like you're trying to get your Russ, and then you need like 7 or 8 other 40+ point performances. Like, that's what you need here. And it doesn't really matter who they are or what they cost or whatever. So like, Poku's got a shot at it. I don't think he's the craziest guy. Crazy guys that I just don't want any part of this game is Orlando and Philly. Give me, like, I'm not even going to give a rebuttal. Just give me 2 minutes or
I'm not giving
seconds on this game, and we're moving on.
You're crazy to think I'm going to give you 2 minutes on this. Crazy. Here's the doozy. You're not playing anyone from Orlando.
NBA.
No. Get it out of your head. You're not doing anyone from Orlando. Anybody. Don't ask me anymore. You're not playing Orlando tonight. Philadelphia, I would like to see what they're going to do. That's just the one thing. I can't believe that they're playing all these dudes tonight. Second out of a back-to-back.
They do have to win is the thing. So, like, it matters.
For what? For wrapping up the first seed?
Yeah, they're only a game up on Brooklyn, and
they have
the tiebreaker. But if they win tonight, they have clinched the number 1 seed.
Okay, they'll win this one easily, super easily. Okay, so then Embiid and the guys play. You're not playing. I just don't think you can do this.
They play 22 minutes. They get up 20, and then they're done unless it becomes an 8-point game again.
And then from what I've seen, here's the other part of that. From what I've seen from Embiid, you have to be careful with this. How do these teams play in these situations? From what I've seen in Philly, Embiid had like a crazy matchup against Houston or something, and he was coasting. I mean, just sprinting out there, like just essentially sprinting. So it becomes really tough because the matchup is great against Orlando. Great one. But it just doesn't seem like he gets as involved in these spots. And that's where I'm struggling with this one. I think, though, because if you're playing MME tonight, if you're crazy enough to do this in MME, I still think you have to have a stab there just in case he gets to this 49 projection. Because he might be Jokic in at center, right? So I don't think you can completely discount him. That's all. The rest, I'm not playing.
Yep, I think that's fair. And I think when the time to pounce on Embiid, like right now, Jokic is clearly ahead of him for tonight, for the last week, for the last couple of weeks. Like since Embiid came back from his injury, it's been Jokic pretty clearly most nights. And like, there have been some nights where it's okay to take a stab on. When it's going to be the time to start buying Embiid is next week when you've got Jokic playing against the Mavericks and potentially a healthy Maxi Kleber. Not that he's not a great play still, but the Mavericks are slow. They're a much better defensive team. Like, they've really clamped down. They're different than they were last year. And then Embiid is going to get to play against Washington. And if like Jokic is still, most likely, if Jokic is still more of a, if he's still twice as owned as Embiid, that's when you start buying Embiid as the first round of the playoffs if they're on the same slate.
Sure.
I feel strongly in that. Okay. I think we did 2 minutes on that game. Told you, buddy. Sacramento and Memphis. It might have been. Sacramento and Memphis. Memphis is another team that is just breaking this because they're still going to play 8-9 dudes, but they are all like everyone they're playing tonight is minimum price, basically, or like within $1,000 of minimum price. Every single guy that is going to play for Memphis tonight is within $1,000 of minimum price. Can you who are they? Like, which ones are we playing? Is it still? They've still got 10 guys somehow, even though they've ruled out 8. And Taylor Jenkins hates us. So, what do you think?
Well, let me count here because I think they have 9 tonight.
Melton, Tillman, Tilly, Jonte Porter, John Concher, Desmond Bane, Tyus Jones, Tim Frazier returns, and Justice Winslow.
Yep. So that's 9, right? Am I crazy? Do I not know how to count?
I think so.
That is 9 for them. So yeah, but then obviously the big thing is that they're resting all their starters. So it's not your normal 9 for Memphis. I also need to get a new total from them because there's no way they're favored by 4 against Sacramento, right? Like their total has to be coming down. On our stuff, it's still showing as 114. If this is true, I mean, I guess it's true. No, I guess it's true. I'm looking at the updated Vegas line right now, and they were like 10-point favorites or close to that, and now they're like 3.5.
Yep.
So their team total.
I think that makes sense because Sacramento trying to lose at this point, and then Memphis, like they're a professional, well-run team. So like just guys, like you can system a win against Sacramento right now.
And some of these guys that we're talking about, Xavier Tillman, who has been, I think, surprised us more than anything. He's had been playing good ball for a good while here. Yeah. Him being priced like this and getting 30+ minutes, that's great, right?
They kept him over Gorgie Jang. So Gorgie Jang's a real player. Like they like, and Tillman they preferred. So he's a real player.
And on top of that, Brandon Clark, who they spent draft capital on last year, and he's been essentially ahead of them in the rotation in some of these. So you have to feel good about that. DeAnthony Melton, Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, these have been like pretty real NBA players, especially Tyus Jones. Like he has some years in him. Doesn't have huge usage upside, but he has
very good defensive player.
Bunch. And he defends well. Like I'm just saying, like some of the quality of players that we're talking about, these are not horrible guys.
No.
Some of them.
The one time in Karl Anthony Towns' career that he was really playing good defense, that lineup that was because it was Jeff Teague was their nominal starter, but he missed some time, and there was a month where it was Tyus Jones, and the Tyus Jones, Jimmy Butler, Cat. I can't remember who the other 2 guys were, but whoever they were that was like a sick defensive lineup. It was weird.
Yeah,
they were really, and Tyus, and they were not good with Teague out there. It was like Tyus Jones made a world of difference, but not an amazing fantasy player necessarily.
Sure, and especially because on Tyus, it's not that he will shoot a ton, but when you have all of these starters out, I'm just telling you right now, I didn't really mess around with a lot of the usage rates on Memphis. On some of the other teams, I did because it made sense. In this scenario, you don't. Unless something looks really, really off. Like if Tyus Jones had a 28% usage rate or something like that, then I'd be like, okay, I gotta overrule this one. But I think
Memphis, I went nuts on the Clippers and Houston and a couple other teams. But this would not have been one that you're changing a whole lot with.
No, I think it's fine to let it scale, and then obviously you kill some of the rebounding rate and assist rate for this team because they are missing their best rebounders and and assist guys. So that made all the sense in the world to do. But these guys are going to be able. We are finally at the point where we can say these guys are going to be able to compete with some of the better value on the slate. These are some of the better values, point per dollar. They have a really strong total. Where you can get weird is someone like Tim Frazier, right? I think that is like weird enough where the other guys are going to get owned for sure. For sure. Frazier is the type of dude that, like, just out of the blue can play 30+ minutes and have some good rates to him, and he could do work at these min price.
Yeah, he definitely could. I think that is fair. On the other side of the ball, Sacramento will be their opponent, and this is the kind of slate we're talking about tonight. In order, our highest projected players are Russell Westbrook by 12 points, Nikola Jokic, tier 2 by himself. Luka Doncic and Joel Embiid are tier 3. The 5th highest projecting player on the entire slate is DeLon Wright. That's where we are tonight, baby.
Yeah. Yep. Sacramento did get eliminated, by the way, yesterday, like officially. They're not. Yeah, they're not in that conversation. So I felt like I on the show I mentioned how I felt pretty darn great about their minutes yesterday. Today I can't say the same, obviously, but I still think that DeLon can get there in terms of minutes in the 30s, but he probably will as well. They just probably don't have like the upper range of that. And in this slate, it just simply might not matter. It might just simply not matter. So still like them. I think Metu is probably going to be able to compete with some of the other cheaper guys on the slate. Rashawn Holmes, I don't think he's been officially ruled out, Andrew, but he hurt his knee yesterday, and I cannot see why he would play in this one. Have no idea why he would play. So I made the executive decision to just get him out of there. I think Damian Jones is probably going to get the start or something like that, but I don't think that's the guy you want to play on this slate. From what we've seen of him historically, pretty darn poor per minute producer as a center. You can't take that chance on this slate, even if he starts. And then I don't have Whiteside in there. I have Chris Silva as the backup center because they just haven't wanted to play Whiteside. If Whiteside were to start or something like that, now we're maybe talking. But if he doesn't, I think he can just be coffined completely. So I think you still have to be somewhat careful with Sacramento because they got eliminated yesterday. But you're going to take some stabs on some of the higher end guys and on Metu specifically. I think you're probably going to go there.
I think that you are as well. Who is Louis King? What is this?
Oh, Louis, I think he's a forward. I just don't feel great about him playing a lot of minutes unless he were to start.
Got him as a 4. No, I mean, he's like, this team is down to just
their bare bones
creative players, and he's the 10th guy on the bench or 9th guy on the bench of a team that is their starters are all like guys 6 through 9 on a bench right now. It's like that's how random he is. I literally have never heard of him. That's wild. That does not happen. I am a 0.1%er as far as like following the NBA. It's my job, and this is the first time I'm hearing of him. Okay, speaking of teams missing all of their assisters and rebounders, we have a real dirt battle between the New Orleans Pelicans and Golden State Warriors in a completely meaningless game. Everybody's out, sort of, except Brandon Ingram will be playing. But like the Warriors are confirmed to be resting everyone because it doesn't matter. It's going to be that game against Memphis on Sunday that decides who's 8 and who's 9. Yep. So that's a big deal game. Tonight is not a big deal game, but man, like I don't know. Pick a team. Talk to me about them. This is gross.
Well, I'll start with New Orleans real quick. You mentioned Ingram being back in here. I guess I'm a little shocked that he's playing.
It's still possible he doesn't, you know?
Yeah, sure. Like we can't say definitively, I guess. But if he plays, he still because he's expensive or, more expensive than a lot of the cheaper guys that we've talked about. And he's probably going to have monstrous rates. He has a
Insane.
chance to be there on FanDuel at small forward. So definitely have to mention that. Because he's off a minutes limit and is a chucker. I think you might have to give that a try. You got to give that one a twirl. I think Eric Bledsoe, no, that's where I'm not going.
Don't do it.
I think the rates are going to take a step back with Ingram back in the fold if he does come back. The scenario where Bledsoe might get a little bit better is if Ingram just doesn't play out right. On DraftKings at 6,500, I just don't think you can do Bledsoe at all. So just go ahead and exit out, and the rest of the team, it's a big fat no for me. Golden State obviously
Ingram,
very different.
Absolutely, yeah. Ingram just with no Zion or Lonzo on the floor this year has a fair amount of minutes and 33% usage, 25% assist rate. That is the captain. Yep. That is the guy you're playing. I like as well because I almost maybe wouldn't play them together because it's one of those Na's extreme upside will happen if it's like Ingram's, sort of a fake active or is only playing 20 minutes or something.
Yep.
And we just don't have any info on that yet. If we get it, we'll show you. But I think that there's a real chance that Ingram is that we don't hear anything and Ingram just takes it very easy, like in an Embiid style game tonight. So be afraid of that. And then you were about to start in on Golden State, who will be without Kelly Oubre is still up, but Steph, Wiggins, Dre, Mulder playing. I don't know. Talk to me about Golden State.
Well, by the way, Ingram is showing up as the top outright play on FanDuel in terms of raw points, not value, just raw points. So to my point that if this is accurate and he just gets to the close to 30 minutes, that's why he'd be in the conversation, even if he was limited from a minutes perspective. Just because small forward is actually pretty darn weak tonight, so you would probably consider him even at let me toggle him down to 25 minutes. At 25 minutes, he's cracking nearly 30. It might be enough. It just might be enough. So I don't want to discount him entirely. Golden State, as you mentioned, completely different situation. Yeah, on Ingram, right? So
BI is a bit of he's the near lock button candidate if there was one, he's going to be very popular, but
yeah, if we don't get info on the potential minutes limit and they're just he's fine, gonna be tough to pass it up at small forward on FanDuel.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean Sadiq Bey is the third highest projecting small forward on FanDuel, if that means anything to you.
Yeah,
Bazemore is the fifth. Rui Hachimura, and then freaking Stanley Johnson and Nick Batum are the seventh and eighth highest projecting small forwards on FanDuel. So yeah, it is an ugly one.
Well, I think that Bay, you definitely want to play on FanDuel because we were talking about Detroit earlier and we didn't get to him. But once you start evaluating the position, I think you have to have some stabs there because he's still playing a lot of minutes and still putting up pretty good rates. So that one makes some sense, frankly. Golden State, we have let me see. Let me check on Mulder since you asked. Mulder is on the injury report as questionable.
Q, yeah, but all the other Q guys got ruled out, so that's why I was thinking of that. So
yep. So no Curry, no Draymond, no Wiggins, etc. You are going to get lots of Jordan Poole tonight. Juan Toscano Anderson. Here's the thing. These guys are going to be part of their playoff rotation.
Yep.
100%. Poole has really been on one.
He's been the second best shooter on the Warriors.
Yeah. So to summarize it, right? So the thing that has me a little bit worried is what if they also want to take it easy on those guys on top of that. And then they just want to play well, Paschal, I don't think he can play a lot.
Can they? Because Pascal probably can't play more than 22, 24 minutes. And then there's Nico Mannion and Alan Smailagic, but and Jordan Bell, I guess. Those are the dudes.
Yeah.
But
they can dump minutes.
They're going to take it easy on Kevon Looney. He's not playing 28 minutes because of this. There's just there's only so many guys. They only have 8 available, I believe. So I'm with you. I think they could take it easy on him, but I don't know how easy they can take it on them.
No, it's a great point. I'm glad that you countered it. I guess from my perspective, it's like we're projecting 34.5 for Poole and like 31.5 for JTA, but like they could easily just as well give Mannion 30 plus, and then Allen high 20s or something. It just doesn't matter in this game, right? So they could do something like that, and then all of a sudden these guys aren't going to project as strongly. But Poole is priced at a level where on DraftKings at 4,100, it's tough. It's a tough ignore. With that said, it's not lock button, right? Lock Russ, don't lock someone like this because there's a lot of competitive values around him.
He is the clear one that everyone's going to play. He's, him and Russ is what teams are like. I'm not joking when I say like 2/3 of teams, even in the mega lottos, are going to have Poole and Russ. It's absurd.
And that's why I started the show with do the lock Russ thing if you want to. The slate is going to be one on these cheap values. This is where you don't do this. You can play a lot of them. Do not lock button him. I think that is a grave mistake because the scenario that I'm talking about is still in play in terms of him playing just minutes in the 20s and he doesn't get into the higher 30s. The most likely, in my opinion, is that he does get to the 30 plus. But I have to play devil's advocate and give you that because we know that he's going to be part of their playoff rotation. And they cannot risk these guys getting hurt. If they lose like a JTA or a Jordan Poole in the playoffs, I mean, they don't have depth, they don't have depth. And I think JTA has pretty much supplanted himself as like above Paschal. Like they really like him. He's pretty darn good, in their rotation. Paschal hasn't shown that.
Well, he's been hurt for 2 months, and they didn't like him in the first place. Remember, there were a couple like chalk Eric Paschal games earlier in the year, and they didn't work out so hot most of the time.
No, and last year he was part of that tanking team where he was able to pull up some stats. And I'm not saying like he's horrible because they did spend draft capital on that. But I also can acknowledge that JTA is definitely above in their rotation. They like him more than Paschal.
Agreed. James has a good question about leverage plays worth heavy consideration. As far as FanDuel goes, we can't talk about it because like the Peon algo has just never. It's on FanDuel. There is so much value that it's broken right now, and I don't know if we're going to be able to fix that for tonight. But so let's talk DraftKings. I think that's what James is talking about anyway. He said that DeLon Wright was a thought. I agree that he's a great play because he is right up there. I mean, he's not as many points, but he is the 5th highest projecting player, and he is the one who is not going to be crazy owned because the price tag is sort of dumb, but like you can afford him and you might as well do it. Other guys like this, we can transition to the last game with us. Luka looks to be a little bit under-owned just because people are going to jam Russ and Jokic and Poole, and then who obviously are all great plays, but Luka is a little bit the forgotten guy up there. Embiid, if you really want to get crazy, I don't really. I think we talked about him earlier, and it's a little bit terrifying to try and do that. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker has an awkward price tag that's going to get him a little bit under-owned. Brandon Ingram does on DraftKings because he's very expensive there, but there's a crazy ceiling on him. Those are the big ones that I really noticed that really stood out to me. Anybody you care to add to that discussion that seems under-owned? And Cousins, who we did talk about. Cousins on DraftKings. Oh boy.
That might be really interesting, right? I was just going to say on the Golden State side, even you can get leverage on DraftKings. Yep. Nico
himself
is 3K, and Jordan Poole is 4,100. Obviously, the better real life player, 100%. Sure. There's a 10-point gap in fantasy in terms of a fantasy projection, and it's obviously understood that gap could close if those minutes are weirder than right, that scenario that I was talking about.
And this is direct leverage, which we don't usually get in the NBA. This is like when Devontae Adams is chalk, you play Aaron Jones as leverage. Like this is that situation.
100%. That's why I wanted to mention Mannion because I think that is kind of going on there. Even Mulder, frankly, at 3,200 doesn't seem like the worst idea in the world. It's just that Mannion is more interesting because he's a point guard. Mulder really isn't. He's not going to handle the ball. It's like can he hit like 8 threes or something right. Kind of crazy like that. That has to be mentioned. You mentioned Cousins and some of the other higher values. So I just wanted to make that point on Golden State itself, that there's some leverage very, very direct within that team because people are going to be looking to lock bun Jordan Poole. I think that's very likely tonight.
Yep, I think that makes for a great point. So good discussion there. Nico Mannion also would be my vote for the player in the NBA that looks least like an NBA player at the moment.
Right.
Funny looking dude. Italian as well. Okay. The last game is that Dallas and Toronto game. I didn't even look at Toronto yet. Can you talk me through this?
Yeah, they just don't have any of the guys, right, from the in terms of Van Vliet, Siakam, Lowry, the main studs. But they also ran into some trouble yesterday and got Jalen Harris and Watanabe also hurt. They hurt themselves yesterday, so they're not playing on this one either. So they are down to the 8. They are down to 8. I just counted it to make sure they are down to the 8 guys. But here's the thing: I frankly feel a little bit worse about this situation than I do with Golden State. And they're running into similar situations because Toronto, obviously, they're trying to just flat out lose. But Golden State is not trying to do that. If they lose, they lose. If they win, okay. But they're not trying to outright do weird things. Toronto is, as we saw yesterday with Boucher and Trent. And so there's just still the situation where I can over-project Boucher by 10 minutes or something like that, even if he started. That's horrible. That is a horrible gap if that really happens. So I just don't have that confidence level on Toronto as I do on Memphis, as I do on some of the Golden State guys, like a Nico Mannion as an example, where it just doesn't matter how much run he gets. He's just going to get a bunch of run, and they don't care about it. Toronto, they have Gary Trent and Boucher, who I think they're just trying to make sure they don't get hurt, or they're part of their rotation moving forward in the future. Malachi Flynn, no, that doesn't matter to them, right? He can play high 30s minutes pretty easily tonight. Stanley Johnson pretty easily can play high 30s minutes, and he's minimum price. The thing with Stanley Johnson that I would want to caution is he went off yesterday, and that profile is not consistent with his historical stuff at all. But the rates on him are going to be pretty beefy because they're just not playing anybody. So it kind of makes sense, but the thing that he pulled off yesterday is I don't know, has to be less than a 1% outcome or something. That's just nuts. So if he ends up being massive chalk, I do think there's plenty of paths to beat Stanley Johnson. I'm not overly worried about that, but he is small forward on FanDuel and minimum price, so he's gonna have to get owned, right? You can't just outright say, well, what he did yesterday isn't consistent, so I'm just gonna X him out. You can't really do that though. As much as I would want to, you can't do
it. I can if I want to.
I mean, yeah, you're your own man. You can do it. But he scored he scored 65 fantasy points yesterday. That's not happening again. I'll put I don't know, whatever I'll put my car on the line. I'll put my dog on it. I'll put everything on the line.
You hear about this doof that put his whole roll on freaking Dogecoin?
I did
in February. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I absolutely did. Man, tough.
No, he put his whole roll, $250K, his entire net worth on in February, and now it went up to 2.5 mil. It's a success story. It's this Brazilian immigrant kid who's just loving it. That's insane. But yeah, that's just put the roll on no 65 dong for Stanley Johnson. Heard.
Did he cash out?
I believe he is. Mostly, yeah. Incredible. It was literally on the New York Times podcast today, so it's it's a big story, and I believe that he has.
So, are you telling me that I should be doing that as well? Is that the type of advice I'm getting here? Financial advice from Andrew Barron? Put it all on Taji? on Dogecoin?
Yeah, that's why I'm wearing the suit today. I thought I was, Darren Financial over here. I do think a little, just dog coins. No, I don't know, man. Like, these people are crazy. Like, obviously those ones aren't worth anything, but like, I don't know. Look at your DFS Twitter now. It's like, it's all kinds of, a lot of our lovable friends are, are just like, pump and dump swindling people now just on these fucking meme coins. Like, it's gross. Like, Ethereum and Bitcoin and some of those like have actual use cases, right? Like,
dude,
those make sense. Like, same. I've been buying I've been in for 4 or 5 years. It's not that I'm not a crypto person. I just think that it's just kind of sad. Somebody's like, some of the shit coins, it's just like people are just going to get caught holding the bag. And
at some point. Yeah.
But whatever. I have a good time. There's other ones, Poodle. My buddy Eric, obsessed with Poodle now. I guess it's down like 60% in the last day. But,
Poodle?
It's another dog coin. Literally, people were just like, all the dog coins are going to go nuts now. And then it happens because people are just pump and dumping and everyone gets excited. And I don't know, maybe cats happen next.
Maybe that's
buy some cat coins.
Maybe that's the newer wave. Someone is going to get caught holding the bag. It's going to be pretty sad. Speaking of holding the bag,
sure,
like that transition.
I love it.
I'm not going to get caught holding. Let's see, on Dallas, I'm not going to get caught holding Timmy Hardaway's bag. No shot on FanDuel 6,300. Way too much. I don't even know if you can do Porzingis, quite frankly. I know he's he's 6. Wow, he's 6,800 on FanDuel. That is enticing.
Yeah,
that is really, really enticing. I am gonna have to walk that one back like 10 miles.
No one's playing him either, man.
And but he did just play like, what was it that he played the other night? 23 minutes or so. The thing is, does it even matter? Because power forward is Xavier Tillman is your top power forward at 3,500 on FanDuel tonight. Oh my God, dude. It's Xavier Tillman and Kenyon Martin Jr., who I guess you actually, I might have just had this backwards. You have to have, I guess, some Kenyon Martin Jr. as well, because power forward sucks.
Yep. Toby, we don't trust. I mean, to be fair, no. Toby could put up 35 in 25 minutes and then all of a sudden be like optimal. But Marcus Morris, we don't trust. Like, I don't think he's going up to 30. I think he's going to be like way over owned too, honestly, because I think the rest of the industry is putting him in that 33. It's like, well, he's the one who would step up, but I don't think the Clips are going to really. I don't think the regular guys are getting run in this game.
No,
there's some edge tonight because who comes into the rotations is different than it would be in a game in February or something,
Yeah, no, of course. This is why it's so different tonight. We're talking about a lot of new names right as the NBA season is about to wrap up. And it's great, frankly. It's just like feels pretty tough if you're MMEing and stuff to keep up with all these situations. It can get a little hairy. But power forward is so bad that Porzingis is top 4 with a 25.5-minute projection. So as much as I would not want to recommend that, like, it might just still be in play in the slate at that tag. And frankly, even Luka, because we know that Dallas kind of has to have either this one or the next one, or there's a scenario where like they can still fall and the Lakers could catch up.
Yep.
And I think also, right, they would want this Denver matchup too. Like, I think they want this to work out. Like, they definitely do. So they are trying to win. And I think Luka is definitely in play, right? Luka has to be in play in this slate. One of the top scorers. The other thing is his 50 tonight, right? Like, all those times that he's just doing like 48, 50, that plays in the slate. That Absolutely. Will play. It will play. So
it's if he beats Poole and Wright outright, then he's optimal, basically. Like.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a good point. And I guess some of the other bottom of the barrel, right? Like DeAnthony Melton.
Clarkson could go nuts.
Clarkson, but Conley back? Probably not, right?
Probably not, but it's still conceivable. I'm just talking about the guys that even have 50 in their range of outcomes.
Okay.
Like, I don't think Malachi Flynn does.
I don't think so either. Sexton, I wanted to. That was the other guy, right? And
Sure.
then I can't because of what I'm seeing from Cleveland. And if Garland plays, his rates come back down a little bit as well. Naw's the other one, right? On DK.
Yep.
He has it. But if it's shaping up as Poole, right? It seems like Poole, because it's multi-positional eligibility too. You can play him at shooting guard. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You could play him at shooting guard, so it might not. It's just a little bit different on DraftKings.
I think the under of the night, honestly, is Jordan Poole, and like that could backfire badly for sure.
Yeah,
but like that's the easiest way. Whatever. Like, is Jordan Poole going to score 41 and 5 times tonight if they just ran the slate over and over again? Yep, he is. And is it going to feel really stupid if he's 80% owned and scores 40 and you were way under on him? Yep. But the easiest way to get weird tonight without being an idiot is to go under on Jordan Poole, because he's way more likely to fail than Russell Westbrook is.
Are you saying the same thing on FanDuel as well? Are you advocating for the same thing?
I think so. The thing is, on FanDuel, people will probably just play Russ and Luka at point guard a lot. So, like, Poole might not be quite as overwhelmingly popular as he will be on DraftKings.
Yeah, bingo. I'm sorry. I forgot the point guard eligibility on him on FanDuel. I thought he had shooting guard. That does change the conversation a little bit then, right? On FanDuel, because on DraftKings you couldn't have nailed it more. Like, that is also my strongest point of the night. It's like, if any of these really cheap guys get to a point where they're so chalky, and it seems like Poole is just the way chalkiest of the bunch, then it's so much easier to go under on that guy than say, hey, I'm going to mess around with Westbrook and not play him. That's dumb. I'm just going to say it. That's dumb.
Yep.
Not playing Westbrook tonight is dumb.
I think that's true. Yeah, because Poole is projecting for a couple points. Like, just play Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Like that, they have basically the same projection. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's $2,300 more on DraftKings, so he's going to be 1/8 of the ownership. Like,
wow,
come on! Like, let him beat him. You got the money. I think that's the sexy stand.
It is, and it became pretty easy for us to say it too. Once we saw the ownership there, because it's not just us projecting, right? The ownership is going to take into account the fact that this is happening like side wide. Like, Jordan Poole is going to have a massive projection on a lot of other sites as well.
He does, and that's what's driving his 90% PO on DK too. Like, I don't know. It's just like Russ and Luka and Jokic are considerably more terrifying fates. Like, I don't, I'd rather, I'll take my chances coming under on people just locking in absolute sure thing Jordan Poole, because he's just not.
Yeah.
So
what about this one? This is also another good point, because what you're saying, I am agreeing with 100%. The other side to that thing is, make sure that who you're doing that with makes sense too, right? Don't go on and play. Okay, say it's utility on DraftKings, and you had a chance to play Rajon Rondo over Poole. Don't do that.
No.
Right? The optimal doesn't understand what we're talking about here. That some of these guys are part of playoff rotations and are probably not going to get to these projections. Play the Jonte Porter guy from Memphis that is not going to be a part of their playoff rotation. Doesn't matter. Play Tim Frazier. Play Nico Mannion. But those guys. Make sure that the guys that you're playing actually make sense. Is the only other thing I can say to what you're saying. Yeah,
the Opto Slappies, which, listen, we all are, but it's just fun to say Opto Slappy. The Opto Slappies are going to get a lot of these guys that are like the Marcus Morrises of the world, that it's like, okay, they're projecting for a couple more minutes, but they may not. Like, there's a real chance that they get shit cut out from under them, and they're going to be popular because most of the industry is going to slap 33 minutes on them, because it's like, what else do you do? And like, I don't think Marcus Morris and Nick Batum are even going to play 30, honestly. If you gave me an over-under at 30 and even odds, I would put my money on under.
I think the other thing that you can do, because I am trying to manage the projections, obviously, for the entire NBA slate, and so I can't go on and dock all these dudes that we're talking about. If you're really wanting to keep up with the slate and make the most of it, if you're playing MME, go ahead and do the things that Andrew's talking about yourself. Dock Rondo, Doc Marcus Morris a couple minutes. Like, get them to the point where they're not really getting into the optimizer,
Right, they're not
or at least
for you,
or at least close to, right? Because at the minutes that we have them, some of these dudes are just going to. And that's a scenario, in my opinion, that you want to avoid. Get some Cousins in there, up them a little bit if that's what it takes for you to get them in some of those lineups. Probably don't do Patrick Patterson, right, on the Clippers side, because he's the guy that, historically speaking, is not a good per minute producer. Just do things that make sense. I know that sounds really
simplistic,
boring and simple, but it's not. Like, just do Philadelphia is another great example. Just go ahead and toggle down some of these guys' minutes a little bit, just a couple minutes, just so that they're not getting in there too crazily. Though on FanDuel, obviously there's the argument of Toby can still be in there with 35 or 36 or whatever. Like, there are those things. Just be smart about it, but be simple. There's no need to exaggerate it in this slate.
And give yourself a bump to these guys that we're talking about for leverage, because you're not going to get them just in vanilla opto runs. So you can either, like, if you want to make a group that's like with DeLon Wright, Mannion, and Nah, and 8 other guys, and be like, play at least 1 or 2 of these guys. That's probably the way to do it, because you won't, or bump them a little bit, but you won't get them in vanilla optos. That's why they are such positive leverage, because the opto says, well, this guy is projecting for 1.2 points less than this other guy, so of course I'm going to put the guy with more points in. But like, it's not the guy projecting for 1.2 more points is like a 55-45 to beat the other guy. So you got to be careful on that. Crank the volatility. All that is definitely a volatility night.
Yes,
it's going to be a wacky one.
It's doable.
But I think you can get some. I think there's some real edge to be gained here on a night like this. And is it a backfire night? Is this one of those nights where it's like, it's almost showdown like, where it's like, I feel like a night like tonight, and I do not have time to MME. I will not be doing it. Full disclosure. But this is a night where I would be live for like a minus 90% night. But also, I think that my Bink equity is considerably higher tonight. Yep. It's a riskier slate, but this is where you can pay off the thing that pays for your whole season.
Well, if you're playing already, just if you're playing already tonight, like, understand that that's the case. Don't preload these lineups with the chalk. I mean, it's one of the easiest slates on the year to just play your favorite guy in the world, Russell Westbrook, and then just do some other simple things, and you're kind of there. To your point, it's a great edge slate. But yeah, if you're playing this tonight, like, don't be afraid to, dude. If you're afraid to lose, like, don't play. If you're afraid to lose, and it's just because, oh well, I want to play Jordan Poole and Russell Westbrook together, then just sit it out, man. Wait for the next one.
Right. Yeah, it's exactly. Well said, my good man. Well, listen, what a season we've had. We don't really, because it's very late, we don't have time to like really get into it and do all the tier stuff. We are going to do some video work for the playoffs, not a ton, but we'll do a thing here and there, and we'll talk to you guys more about it at that time. But I don't know, man. Been a pleasure this regular season with you. Enjoyed myself as always. Thanks for dressing up with me.
For sure. Memorable, yes. I would say very memorable season. Like you said, we don't have a lot of time, but definitely memorable. I would say the harder. I know people have already like reached out to us and been like, "Hey, like, season has been crazy. Great job." And like, for me, frankly, I think I'm the proudest I've ever been for this season, because the tougher it gets and the better your product is, the better you feel about things. And I just can't emphasize that enough. The job that you've done, especially with the ownership stuff that we'd never had in our opto, I think that has been a great addition, as I've told you literally all season. I think the shows were great, and most importantly, the projections were just as good as I have ever seen them. So I'm really, really proud of what we've accomplished here, and I can't say that enough. I'm really, really proud. More than in other seasons that are easier, and right, you have so much time to figure things out. This season was under fire right from the get-go, and it never stopped. So I'm really proud of the way we handled, as a team, the way we handled all of this. It's been amazing.
Yeah, man. It was confirmed actually. Jeremy, the boss man, also known as Ponosaurus, who was one of the greatest DFS players ever to play. Like he was an absolute monster when he played, and has moved on to other investing things now. But he did confirm that our projections are the best they've ever been. So like it's
incredible.
The lion's share is on you. Like what a team we did. We're doing a great job. You know, like Keith and Ben are welcome additions. We love having those guys.
Yeah.
They're doing a really great job and coming along, and they're going to be heavily involved in baseball for the rest of the summer. And we've got plenty more slates of basketball. Dude, 2 months of the playoffs, man.
Keith, not to air out his business here, not to air out these guys' business in here, but like, dude has a full-time job
and kids, a couple of them,
and kids. Listen, I can barely take care of myself in this job, let alone have kids. And the dude is managing all of this while still providing value for us. Ben is a kid. He's essentially
19, dude.
He's a literal kid who has been going to college and has another job on top of this. Like, yeah, you guys think we're superheroes, but I looked at stories like that and I'm like, how are you guys doing this? How is this even possible?
We had a very important work call we had to do today, and Ben was at his other job, and he's like, I can make it work. I'll be on break. And he's like sitting in this Philly parking lot with like a restaurant polo on, drinking out of this most stereotypical like pizza shop cup with an Italian flag on it, and it was great stuff. He's like, "What's up, Ben? How you doing, bud?" Sitting in his car, getting there for the work call. So making priorities for us, and we appreciate them for doing that.
Like the sacrifices that it's not just on. Listen, at the end of the day, we have to work this full time. Like we're doing this and we love it. But like the dudes that come in and chip in and provide the value that they have, doing all the things that they're doing outside of this, as impressive of a thing as I've ever seen. I'm really, really proud of them.
Absolutely. And we've got bumps along the road. Like things happen, but man, the team I work kind of half and half where I do, some of this content and front facing stuff, but the bigger part of my job, honestly, is tech. And I work very closely with Arturo and Dave. And like, I've learned so much from them, and just the fact that they're able to fix this thing all the time.
It's unbelievable. The tech team is unbelievable. You guys, it's one of those things, Andrew, that they just don't know how good they have it. Right. I don't know how else to phrase it. It's just like we don't know how good we have it until you don't have those guys on your team and something breaks and then you can't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. Like we essentially had a fix for the optimizer breaking down the other day. Next day, we already had something going, man.
That was insane. Like how bad that was. Like I don't know. That's hard to explain, but
yeah,
how bad what happened. And I know it was awful for you guys out there listening, and thank you for your patience. Yes. And we're terribly sorry about that. It was a shitty situation. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like how bad that was, and how conceivably for like any other company, it would have just actually sunk them that we were back after a day. Like I did not expect that to happen. I was really worried about this, like all-nighter. Like, should I be sending alerts now that like the baseball opto is not going to be working for the early slate? And Arturo's just like, nope, we got it. It's like,
we literally talked that night about how worried we were in terms of what if this is right. You have to start preparing for the worst case scenario,
right? And
being like, dude, if this is the thing moving forward for NBA for the final stretch of the regular season, we are in shambles. These guys had a solution in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You think I'm the superhero or Andrew's the superhero because we're dealing with other stuff. If things break in the optimizer, I can't do anything about it. Those guys can, and they had a response that quick. I don't know, man. It's just sometimes I'm just speechless.
It's wild.
At how
because that was literally a fight between Google and Amazon. Like that is what's happening. Right. That's why it happened to us the other day. Like Google's functionality, they're probably intentionally scaling it back because this is what happens with these big companies. Is like they got along for a while, and now they're kind of in each other's space and they want to take over. And basically what happened was we pushed from Google to AWS for a lot of our stuff. And Google looks like they just turned off some of that functionality for us. And like that should, and did temporarily just kill the whole thing.
Absolutely destroyed us.
And
we had a response in less than 24 hours, man. I don't know. I just
to live to tell the tale is pretty wild. Absolutely.
It's just wild. Really, really proud of. It's not just us. I'm just saying, like, the whole team in general, because tech is part of our team. And if Andrew, from the very beginning of the season, we didn't have a single issue on NBA, a single one. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just so damn impressive, man. I'm just so damn proud.
NBA was very smooth, and we are smoothing out baseball. We were working on that. I understand it's been a bumpy road with our stupid provider this year, but we're making it happen. And then thanks, Colin, for having the steady hand on the wheel and helping us get all this in. So we really appreciate everyone that we work with. That they let us be bozos on the show and talk to you guys, and we really appreciate you all subscribing and watching and hanging out with us and having a nice season. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So that'll wrap it up because it actually is like an hour to lockdown. We have a lot of stuff to do. So best of luck in all your contests this evening, and we'll talk to you soonish.